The political conventions won't begin for almost 2 weeks, but President Obama, Mitt Romney, and their running mates are already campaigning in earnest. Today, they spread out across the country, focusing on everything from energy to taxes.
You know, it's great to be here in Colorado.
Now, this is my second chance to be on a bus tour across Ohio this summer.
We need you to stand with us.
It has been great to be back in Iowa.
The 4 men on the 2 presidential tickets blitzed 4 states that will be critical this November. President Obama was on the second day of a 3-day bus tour across Iowa, talking up energy policy. In Oskaloosa, the president argued his Republican opponent, Mitt Romney, has dismissed the whole idea of alternative energy.
He said that new sources of energy like wind are imaginary. His running mate calls them a fad. During a speech a few months ago, Governor Romney even explained his energy policy this way. I'm quoting here, "You can't drive a car with a windmill on it." That's what he said about wind power. You can't drive a car with a windmill on it.
Iowa has become a center of wind energy production, and the president said Romney has a lot to learn about it.
The wind industry now supports 7,000 jobs here in Iowa, 75,000 jobs across the country. These jobs aren't a fad. These are good jobs, and they're a source of pride that we need to fight for. And if Governor Romney understood what you've been doing, he'd know that we used to have to import most of the parts that were used for wind turbines. They're now being made here in America by American workers in American factories. That's not imaginary, that's real. That's part of what we're fighting for in this election. So I want to stop giving $4 billion in taxpayer subsidies that are going to oil companies that are making huge profits and have been subsidized for 100 years, and let's keep on investing in the new homegrown energy that's creating jobs right here in Iowa. That's a difference in this election.
At the same time, Romney was in Ohio's coal country, arguing it's the president who's forsaken a ready-made energy source. He was flanked by a group of coal miners in Bellsville.
We have 250 years of coal. Why in the heck wouldn't we use it? And so I want to take advantage of those energy resources. Of course, I like all the sources of energy. You've probably heard the president say he's for all of the above. And I wondered what he meant, because I see how he's been waging war on coal. And I wondered, how could he possibly say that? Then it came to me. He's for all the sources of energy that come from above the ground. None of those that come from below the ground, like oil and coal and gas. I'm for all of the above, whether it comes above the ground or below the ground. We're going to take advantage of our energy resources to save your jobs, to create more jobs. And by the way, when we use our plentiful energy resources, our inexpensive carbon-based energy resources, you're going to see manufacturing come back to America. It's not just in this community that jobs will be grown and created. It'll be in other parts of our nation as well. We're going to bring jobs back in part by that first step I'm going to take, which is to take advantage of our energy resources.
Then candidate Obama won Ohio in 2008. But today, Romney said the president has not lived up to promises he made to the Buckeye State.
He said if he's elected president and his policies get put in place, the cost of energy would skyrocket. That's what he's kept. He also said you can go out and build a new coal plant if you want, but if you do, you'll go bankrupt. That's another promise he's intent on keeping. His vice president said coal is more dangerous than terrorists. Can you imagine that? This tells you precisely what he actually feels and what he's done. And his policies over the last 3.5 years have put in place the very vision he had when he was running for office. But now he wants to get reelected.
Meanwhile, Romney's vice presidential pick, Wisconsin Congressman Paul Ryan, hit the same theme in Lakewood, Colorado.
We're offering solutions. And among those solutions we're offering are, number one, make sure that we use our own energy, because we have our own energy in this country. All of it. You have it all here in Colorado. We have our own oil and gas. we have nuclear, we have all of the above, wind, solar, coal. Let's use it. Let's make our energy independent. Let's create jobs. Let's stop sending jobs overseas by buying oil overseas. Now, you have the technology here, the wherewithal here, the oil and gas here. We want to reward that. We should be tapping our resources, which we know we can in an environmentally sensitive way. We want to get the government out of the way. President Obama has done all that he can to make it harder for us to use our own energy.
Vice President Joe Biden steered clear of energy as he stumped in Danville, Virginia. He called the Republican ticket men of fundamentally flawed judgment.
Romney wants to he said in the first 100 days, he's going to let the big banks once again write their own rules. Unchain Wall Street. They're going to put you all back in chains.
Biden then zeroed in on Republican calls for extending and adding new tax cuts.
Now, you got to hear it. Now, I want you to listen because you'll think I'm making this up if you didn't listen hard. $800 billion over the next 10 years will go to people with a minimum income of $1 million. Now, wait, no, hang on. And of that $800 billion, $400 billion will go to 120,000 households. 400 billion going to 120,000 households while we cut Medicaid, while we cut education, while we cut infrastructure. Ladies and gentlemen, and on top of that, Romney comes along, the governor comes along, as does the congressman, and says we need an additional tax cut for the job creators. I'm serious. We need an additional $1.6 trillion for the job creators. On top of all this,
the Romney camp protested the Biden remark about putting people back in chains, calling it a new low. The Obama campaign replied, saying it was in response to a frequent GOP call to unshackle the private sector from consumer regulations.